All right, back on the conversation. We got a great guest for you guys. He's a progressive populist running in Kentucky for Mitch McConnell's seat. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Mike Breuer, also a farmer, also a reporter and editor in the past. So, Lieutenant Colonel, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much. And got to apologize for the dorky headset, but wanted to make sure we weren't feeding back or falling into any of those traps. So.
No, it looks good. It looks like you're on a mission. Geronimo. Okay, so you at this point you're mainly a farmer. You're retired from the military. You were in the Marine Corps. So why? Amy McGrath is the main Democratic establishment candidate there. She's raised $14 million. Why in the world did you get into the primary?
Well, it's funny. When I decided, she wasn't in. And besides that, I'd run anyways. But the fact that she's the Washington Democratic establishment's party choice, that alone should be good enough to run. But yes, she's raised an awful lot of money. But anyone who watched the debate last night, or the debate we had up in northern Kentucky back on March the 5th, which seems like 100 years ago, she's unfocused and uninspiring, and she's trying to grab this kind of mushy center that we've run against Mitch McConnell for 35 years, and we've gotten creamed every time.
So I'm going to ask you more about the debate in a second, but that goes to the heart of the issue here. So the Democratic leadership thesis is if you run to the middle, that's a better chance of winning in places like Kentucky. What is your thesis instead, and what do you think is wrong with theirs?
Well, I don't have any data on mine, but I have got 35 years of data on theirs, and the results are in. It doesn't work. So I guess I can't prove a negative, but doing this same thing again. And, people need to be inspired. People need, and when I started my campaign talking about social and economic justice way back in July, it was important to me. But as things have just spun more and more out of control in this country, here in Kentucky, we started off with, you may have heard of the Black Jewel Mine, where the miners had their wages stolen by the mine owners. GM workers went on strike for months in Bowling Green, Kentucky, for better working conditions and basic respect for their fellow workers. And then impeachment hearings, impeachment trial, global pandemic that kills 110,000 people. And then now great cities of America are on fire. And so those calls for social justice back in July are now demands, and our cities are burning. And so if you want to run to the comfortable middle or go back to business as usual, you are not going to get elected in Kentucky or else.
So, Mike, if you were elected, first of all, it'd be an amazing, wonderful moment in America, because that means I get to say, down goes Mitch McConnell, which would be one of the happiest nights of my life. But what would be your vision? So you're considered more populist. What does that mean?
Well, that's not a name I give myself, but so I started off my campaign and I said social and economic justice for all, and I was treating them as two discrete things. But the more I thought about it and the more I talked about it, I just realized that these two things are like inextricably linked. If you take a look at any topic, mass incarceration, there's a huge economic aspect to it, and there's a huge social justice aspect to it. The social justice aspect is, of course, that we incarcerate African-American males at a much higher rate than we do any other group of our population. Here in Kentucky, in the last 8 years, we've increased the number of women in prison by 300%. I guarantee you the women in Kentucky have not gone on a massive crime spree, but we have a for-profit prison system. It's a business. You build a prison, got to fill it up. Businesses make donations to politicians, wash, rinse, repeat. And so we got to break that cycle. That's just one of those things that has and it has also the huge economic aspect of it. We're jailing people at the expense for nonviolent crimes, not a threat to themselves or anyone else in their community. We're jailing people at an incredible expense, $25,000, $30,000 a year to keep someone incarcerated, coming out of the taxpayers' money. And those people are not at their homes. They're not being a breadwinner. Their families are probably going on WIC, SNAP, other kinds of assistance, Medicaid. And so there's this add-on effect to besides immiserating their family, but a massive expense to the taxpayers to incarcerate someone who probably doesn't deserve to be there in the first place. So, like I said, as I've gone through all these issues, whether it's guns, healthcare, the big issues of the day here in Kentucky, of course, the opioid epidemic. All these things are just so closely tied both to social justice and economic justice. So those are the things I'm for. If that makes me a progressive populist, then I'll own it.
Okay. And so you guys had the debate last night. I hope the media covered it amply in Kentucky, because that makes a huge difference. But debates are for contrast. So how did it go, and what are the contrasts that you wanted to draw out in that debate?
Well, first I'll say this, Cenk, that it was covered well. KET, Kentucky Educational Television, broadcast statewide, so that was a great opportunity. But it was also picked up by C-SPAN, and my mom and dad watched, and which was weird because I didn't tell them I was going to be on C-SPAN last night, so it got a lot of coverage. It's probably the most important race in the country. I know every politician, everyone running for office thinks their race is the most important one, but mine is. Beating Mitch McConnell is the most important thing. We have to save the republic. But for drawing contrast, Amy McGrath was herself, middle of the road, dodging questions. And the host, Ray Shaw, is brilliant, and she just dug in. And when the question didn't get answered, she went right back at her. And we got a lot of just the same old mushy, middle of the road talk. Charles Booker, Representative Booker from Louisville, Louisville's on fire right now. And as their state representative, he had an awful lot to say about social justice from firsthand experience, rightfully so, as an African-American man. But as far as comparisons, we had Indivisible hosted a forum in Northern Kentucky back on March 5th. 88% of the people in the exit poll that they ran said they would have voted for me if the election was that day. There's a Twitter poll closing out right now based on last night's debate, and I'm at about 65%. McGrath is about 4, so Booker's at about 3. So I'll take those numbers.
Yeah. And so, of course, unscientific, but I hear you. So it's trending in a certain direction. And it's hard for moderates to win debates because they're moderates. And they've been taught by their consultants to avoid questions. So I don't know if the reporters think it's savvy, but it really grates on the nerves of anybody watching. So I think people probably appreciate your straightforward approach. And I don't think you're wrong to say that your race is certainly among the most important in the country. One, in the primary, can a progressive beat one backed by massive Democratic money and leadership, and in a place like Kentucky? That's hugely important. And then if you could beat McConnell, it makes all the difference in the world. So when it comes to McConnell, there is a laundry list of things he has done wrong. But what do you think are the main reasons why the people of Kentucky need to replace him?
Well, I'd love to be able to talk about, subordinating the Congress to the executive branch and packing the federal bench with unqualified judges. But Kentucky wants to hear kitchen table issues. And so there's two approaches to it. One of them is just the facts. And the fact that Kentucky has, Kentucky's got the worst cancer rate in the country. We have the worst child abuse rate in the country. We have the worst child homelessness rate in the country. We have twice the national average of people working at the minimum wage in Kentucky, the 5th worst economy in the United States. So when people say, "How are we going to give up the prestige of having the Senate Majority Leader?" He hasn't done anything for Kentucky. I mean, literally, he's left us in shambles. He let the Black Lung Disability Trust Fund lapse. And, those are his constituents. He doesn't care about us. And so that's what I tell Kentuckians. And the other half of it is this: giving a transformative vision, talking about the opportunity offered in having a single payer healthcare system, universal basic income. And people resist that. They say, well, isn't that some kind of giveaway? And people in Kentucky have great common sense. They say, listen, we give money to corporations all the time. I think it's better to give it to people because they spend it. And all I have to do is ask them, how different would your life be if you had an additional $1,200 a month? And you see the lights come on. and the smiles come on their faces. They start to imagine, and the fundamental fairness of it, of that it goes to everyone, and that they could change their life. We could raise every single American out of poverty. And when you say, should we give the money to corporations or to you? They invariably say, give the money to us. And so that's how you can sell populist ideas. That's how you can win in Kentucky as a progressive.
Mike, what's your website?
It's mikeforkentucky.com, all spelled out, and plenty of opportunities there. You're so moved, mikeforkentucky.com/sign up, and one of my eager Yang Gang volunteers will be happy to put you to work. Of course, there's a great opportunity to donate if you are so inclined.
All right, Mike Breuer, running for Senate in Kentucky. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on the Young Turks.
It was absolutely my pleasure, and thanks to everyone who helped set it up. It was really, really smooth and fun.
No problem. Take care.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.